Hey everybody, Greg from parkjourney.com here. I just wanted to take a couple of minutes today to talk about the Disneyland MaxPass that implemented a couple of months ago. Most of the updates and videos and such that I've seen have been from the aspect of annual pass holders using the system, which is great. But I wanted to actually kind of approach it from an infrequent visitor because we're not pass holders. So we actually were able to use it for the first time this last Saturday at the park, which was a pretty busy day at the park. So I kind of wanted to go over some good and not so good things that may have been a one-off thing, but just kind of wanted to share a few things with you guys regarding the MaxPass. So we'll start off with the good. So we got to the park just right at opening of Disneyland, which is 8 a.m. And there was 5 people in our group. One person had the MaxPass on my ticket, and then we had to scan everybody else's ticket to get the MaxPass on just one app. So I basically was in control of all that, and scanning it was easy. There was no issues with the camera, no issues with scanning of the passes. And then paying for it was pretty easy because I had already preloaded my card into the app, and I just had to put in my my 3-digit code from the back of my card. I'm not going to tell you guys what it is. So I just had to put that in. So it was really easy. One thing I would say about that is I would hope eventually they're going to adapt it to use Apple Pay or Android Pay or Google Pay or whatever to just make it a little bit easier. But again, it was not a big deal as long as you already have your credit card info into the app, which I already did. And again, putting your credit card info into the app, it does make you put in that 3-digit code as well. So no problems there whatsoever. So we walked in the park. We headed because we hadn't actually been to the park since 2014. So it was kind of a long gap between our visits. We used to be annual pass holders from about 98 until 2012. Life just got too busy. So we just haven't had annual passes. So this was actually only our second visit to the park since 2012. So there was a lot that we hadn't seen. So we definitely wanted to make sure that we did the Max Pass. So as we were walking up Main Street over to Fantasyland, because we wanted to do all of the Toad and Snow White and Pinocchio and Alice and all that stuff, I was actually able to secure fast passes for Ghost Galaxy for like 8:30 in the morning. So by the time we had done, we didn't do Peter Pan because, I mean, come on, seriously, 45-minute wait right after the park opens was just crazy. So we did Toad, Snow White, Pinocchio, and Alice. And then by that time, it was time for our passes for Space Mountain. So we headed over Space Mountain, walked up, scanned the thing, no issues at all. One thing I will say that hopefully is coming soon is we had to scan each pass. I had to scroll through and scan each pass separately. It would be nice if you could just scan it once and for everybody in the party. Because you can add all the fast passes at once for everybody in the party, but you can't scan them all at once. So maybe there's a way to do this. I didn't see it. But again, minor inconvenience because it was really quick to scroll through and do that. So by the time we got into Space Mountain, into the actual mountain, because you have to scan at the entrance fast pass, and then before you actually go into the mountain, I was able to grab fast passes for Star Tours, which were like 5 minutes after. So by the time we got off Space Mountain, it was already time to go on Star Tours. Did the same thing. We went on to Star Tours, and just because I could, I did fast passes for Buzz Lightyear. We didn't really need them at that time in the morning. It was actually kind of a slow morning. But again, because I could, I went ahead and did that. So after Buzz, we headed up and did like Small World. And so I did get fast passes for Haunted Mansion Holiday, which were at that time, it was I think 10:30 in the morning. So by the time we did Snow White and walked through and looked at Star Wars Land and stuff like that, and then it was about 10:20, and we decided we were going to go ahead and do Pooh because we had like 10 minutes to spare before our fast passes. And then by the time we got off Pooh, I could get another fast pass, so I just grabbed a fast pass for Splash Mountain, and we did some shopping in the store right there. We did Splash Mountain, and then we did Haunted Mansion Holiday. So after that, we decided to do the train because of all the improvements and stuff. So make sure you check out our video for the train that we just uploaded to YouTube this morning. Sorry about the annoying kids in the video, but it's Disneyland. There's annoying kids everywhere, right? So anyway, we did the Grand Circle Tour. And then I was going to grab another fast pass. It was like at 12:08, I think I remember the time because I was counting down the minutes. We were at Tomorrowland Station, and I couldn't get any reception there. So again, one of the problems is you have to make sure you're not in a dead zone. So by the time I got to Main Street, I was going to get fast passes for Guardians because obviously we hadn't done Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, one thing I didn't know is that they shut off fast passes for Guardians because of the switch over to the Monsters After Dark. Guardians of the Galaxy actually closed at 4 o'clock. So they had 8 hours of the day dedicated to their brand new ride. So I'll get into that a little bit later because it was kind of annoying. So I actually went ahead and just did fast passes for, excuse me, before we got on the train, I was actually able to do fast passes for Radio Springs Racers, which were at like $3.50. And then our next one was at $12.08, which I was going to do Guardians for. And there was some debate between our group was whether we were going to do Guardians or Racers at that time. In hindsight, I would have done Guardians if I had known they were going to cut off fast passes so early. So again, user error. I didn't know that was going to happen. It would have been nice if they put that in the app saying that this fast passes are closing off at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock or whatever it was. There was no notification of that. So again, I'll get into that a little bit later as we get through what happened later in the day. So I had booked the fast passes for Racers earlier, and then we had another one for 12:08. I think I ended up booking for a little bit later. I think I ended up booking like California Screamin' or something like that. The other thing that I didn't know is Soarin' fast passes sold out like by noon. They were already at 9 o'clock that night. And again, we hadn't done Soarin' Over the World. In hindsight, I would have booked that fast pass earlier as well. So not knowing, not being an annual pass holder anymore, not knowing what sells out as quick as it does, I guess I should have asked that question on Twitter last week in addition to the MaxPass question. I should have known, I didn't know that. So, and I also didn't know that there's no more single rider on Soarin'. We found that out later in the day. Anyway, so we finish our Grand Circle tour. Again, be sure to check out the video. And then we head over to DCA for lunch. So we over to whatever Taste Pilots is now. Again, not an annual pass holder anymore. I don't know what it's called anymore. Jumpers or something, whatever. And then we headed over and did Mermaid. So we did Screamin'. And at that time, it was about 2:45. And at 3 o'clock, they were supposed to start having fast passes available for the Monsters After Dark. Now, again, as a non-annual pass holder, we would have chosen to ride Guardians, get fast passes for Guardians over Monsters After Dark in a second. All of us agreed because none of us had done Guardians of the Galaxy. So by them actually not having that option to get Monsters After Dark fast passes all day and having people pick which they wanted, whether they wanted Guardians of the Galaxy or Monsters After Dark, it screwed everybody up. And I'll get to that in a second. So we're in line for Screamin'. It's 3 o'clock. We're just about to board. So I open up the app. I go to get fast pass. I'm like, I'm going to get fast passes so we can at least do the Monsters After Dark. And nothing. The app is dead. No, nothing happening. Ride Screamin', and then we rode Screamin' again because there was actually 2 people in our party that didn't ride it, so 2 of us got to ride again. Kept trying to do it, nothing. Go in to ride Toy Story, trying to do the app, nothing. Get to the actual scan for Toy Story, and the whole fast pass system is down. So basically, what happened was by everybody trying to get Monsters After Dark fast passes at 3 o'clock, it just overwhelmed the system and the entire thing crashed. Not just for DCA, for Disneyland as well. You couldn't actually even get a fast pass for DCA either. For Disneyland either. So we had already had a couple of fast passes for a couple rides at Disneyland for later on, so we were okay there, but the whole thing was crashed. So we did our Toy Story, head over to Racers. Of course, Radio Springs Racers was down. So we decided to head over to Hollywood and do Monsters, Inc. and then the animation. At that time, they shut down Guardians at 4 o'clock because it switches over to Monsters After Dark at 5. So for an hour, one of the most popular rides in the park closed. It was like, seriously, brand new ride. Summer of Heroes just ended, and you have a ride closed for an hour to switch it over to Monsters After Dark. Now, again, I love the concept of Monsters After Dark. I get it, but for infrequent visitors like myself, it screwed us. Like for annual pass holders, that's all great. And if I was an annual pass holder, I would spend all day waiting in line for Monsters After Dark, or if it was like the first weekend of it. I get it, But for an infrequent visitor like myself, it screwed us, to be honest with you, because the fast pass system didn't even come back up fully the rest of the night. So anyway, so we head over to Hollywood. The line for Monsters After Dark was from the Tower of Terror fast pass machines all the way through Bugs Land, and getting longer every second. During this time, I had actually tweeted out a couple of things saying, the fast pass system's down, blah, 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 blah. Disneyland actually PM'd me on Twitter saying to show this to one of the cast members at Tower and they'll take care of it. I'm just like, okay, it didn't say anything like they would give me a fast pass, nothing. So I go over to one of the, I could see that on my back screen here, on my tweet deck. So I go over to one of the cast members. I showed him the message, and I'm like, "Do you have any idea what this means?" And it was, one of the managers. He had no idea what it meant. And he's like, now I'm afraid who else got this message? And I wasn't like making a stink about it. That's not what we do. That's not what I do. I was just saying, do you know what this means? I wasn't really expecting anything out of it. So he was kind of afraid who else was going to actually get that message. So I don't know what happened with that. It would be interesting to know, to see what happened with that. So anyway, we were going to do Monsters. It was like a 45-minute wait. And then again, another thing we didn't realize that they turn animation into a princess meet and greet now. And it's, that was one of the most cool places to just relax at DCA back in the day. And again, gone with Frozen, which kind of sucks for people that, again, don't visit very often. So headed back over to Racers. That had finally reopened. We did our Racers. And then we decided we were just going to head back over to Disneyland. We weren't even going to try to do Monsters After Dark. We weren't going to wait, 2 hours for Soarin', even though we hadn't done Soarin' over the world. It just wasn't, again, we have one visit in 3 years, so we wanted to get as much done at Disneyland as we could. So we headed back over to Disneyland. We had already had some fast passes for Big Thunder. Finally, the system started coming up, so we got fast passes for Big Thunder, Indy, and Matterhorn. So we head over, decided we wanted Dole Whip, go into Tiki Room, again, which used to be one of the nice, quiet places to just sit down and relax. Now they've got a huge Dole Whip line taking up that entire courtyard in front of Tiki Room. I don't understand it. But anyway, so got our Dole Whip, had solid Tiki Room, great show as always, Disney magic at its finest, sitting there with my kids, 21 and 19. But, just bringing back a lot of awesome memories of taking them in Tiki Room when they were younger. Getting kind of mushy. It was nice. So did Tiki Room. Then we went and did Indy. And I don't know what they're doing with the fast passes there. So we walked in, the normal fast pass line to the right, get into the actual, queue line, and it was backed up almost as long as it was when Indy didn't have fast pass. It took us, probably 25, 30 minutes in the fast pass line to, get, to on the ride. So they kept stopping it, and then a whole group would go, and I know everybody has got to watch that video, whatever. But Indy, again, hadn't done it since they made all those changes, and I had actually forgotten that they'd made all those updates, maybe a year or two ago. Wow. I always thought Indy was kind of one of the more overrated attractions. It was amazing. So kudos to whoever did that. I want to throw that out there. Then we did Big Thunder. Again, we had done the changes on that. It's still great, smooth, running great. All the effects were working perfect. And then we went and had dinner at the Red Rose Tavern. Tried the gray stuff. It was all right. The rose cake was actually delicious. But the food there, compared to what it used to be when it was Village House, 100% better. Thank you to whoever is updating all of the counter service meals. It was night and day. So good. So then we went over to Matterhorn, went to do our fast passes, and for some reason our fast passes on the app had just disappeared, gone. And we had already done fast passes for later on for Buzz Lightyear again, because not everybody in our party could ride, Indy and stuff like that. So we had done Buzz Lightyear, and so we scanned our tickets, and it showed up as Buzz Lightyear at Matterhorn. So, it is the way it is. So, again, it's still a test. We get it. So then we went over and did Jungle Cruise, and then we did Pirates, and then as we were exiting Pirates, really kind of a surprise that we had no idea. I hadn't actually seen anything about this online. It was probably about 5 minutes into the fireworks show, and I didn't realize that they do projections on the rivers now using the Phantasmic fountains during the fireworks, showing clips of all the different movies. And I got to be honest, it was better than standing in front of the castle. We were actually just kind of blown away. So we just stood there as a family watching, the four of us, just watching the show and the fireworks. So I didn't actually get any pictures or video of it because I was actually just enjoying that moment with my family, knowing that we probably won't be back to Disneyland for another couple of years. So, but yeah, it totally was awesome. Blew me away. We wanted to stay for Fantasmic, but we had done Scary Farm the previous 2 nights and we were just exhausted. So we ended up not seeing Fantasmic. We saw some of it from Pirates. I wish we would have stayed. We could have stayed. It's just we were so exhausted by that day. So just trying to fit everything in Disneyland in one day, is a lot, even with MaxPass. So MaxPass good. We did everything at Disneyland except for Peter Pan, Storybook, Casey Jr., the Teacups, Subs, Autopia, and then Toontown stuff, and then Mark Twain. We didn't get around to doing Mark Twain because by the time I got back to Disneyland, it was already closed for Fantasmic. But we did so 8 things we didn't do at Disneyland. So with the MaxPass, it made it super easy. The problem is knowing when to get fast passes for stuff. Again, in hindsight, after we did Space Mountain in the morning, when Star Tours and Buzz were like 5-minute waits, I should have just grabbed the fast pass for Haunted Mansion for like 9:30 and then done for Guardians for like 11 and just headed over there a little earlier. In hindsight, I should have done that, but it was a nice empty morning at Disneyland from about 8 to about 11. So I think it kind of threw us off and thinking maybe it won't be that busy today because the fast passes weren't really going that fast. I kept checking the fast passes until about 11 o'clock for Guardians and Racers and even Soarin' were only like 1 or 2 at the very latest. And then between 11, like by the time we got on the train probably about 11:15. So the duration of the Grand Circle Tour, which is what, 18 minutes or whatever, it just exploded. The crowds, like, and then the fast passes were just between at 11:15 the Soarin' fast passes were returned, I think, of about 3. At 11:40 it was 9:10. So that fast. So I don't know if it was just annual pass holders showing up or what it was. Everything just exploded between that hour. So again, keep that in mind. If you're an infrequent visitor, keep that in mind that you got to make sure those big things, you get them early. Again, in hindsight, I would have changed a couple of things. But overall, I think the system is great. Obviously, it's only $10 right now. It's going to go up once they work out the kinks. They do have some kinks to work out. But for the price of $10, so $50 for our group, and then one person left at like 4. So again, it would only been $40 for my family of 4. It was totally worth it. It took out all the stress of having to run all over the place to get fast passes, because back in the day when we were annual pass holders, when we would go to Fantasyland first, I would always run over and get fast passes for Space Mountain. So I would miss riding Peter Pan or Toad or whatever it was with my family because I was getting fast passes. It takes that away. So you get to stay together all day. One thing I will say, make sure you bring chargers for your batteries, for your phone. We had like 4 chargers, so we had no problems whatsoever. Obviously, I was tweeting and stuff a few times during the day. I didn't tweet a lot because, again, I was trying to enjoy a family day in the park. So just make sure you have, a way to recharge your batteries. They do have like those mobile chargers now that we saw in a couple spots. So, I mean, there are ways to do it if you do forget your charger. But again, overall, I would say I'd give MaxPass right now a 7 out of 10. If the whole Monsters After Dark thing hadn't blown up the entire system at 3 o'clock, I'd probably say, 9 out of 10. So with that one small thing aside, I think it's a perfect system. I'm not perfect system, but I think it's a good system. I like that you can't go on and just book stuff weeks and days in advance, because we all know the annual pass holders will just grab everything up. Anyway, thanks you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, whatever, I think it's down in that corner. Just click the PJ and subscribe. For some reason, our YouTube channel just doesn't take off like some of the other YouTube channels. I don't know why. I think we have some really cool content. So make sure, if this is your first time watching our channel, check out some of our content. We've got a lot of cool stuff. Some of our Disneyland videos, because they were all taken when I used to be in AP, they're actually kind of like you know, they're not HD, but they're kind of cool videos. Our Expedition Everest video even has a working Yeti. Yet nobody watches it. What's up with that, people? So anyway, take the time, subscribe, check out some of our videos. We've got some playlists there for Disney and ride POVs and Halloween stuff, and then some other park update stuff. So make sure you check us out and give us a subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great afternoon.